Golden Era Gaming.
Hello, and welcome to Golden Era Gaming. I am your host, Martin, and here is the other sub-host.
Thank you.
Martin.
Hello.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's not so bad actually. It's all right. I'm tired with all this gaming we've been doing. Did you know, Martin, that pretty much about now we're at the quarter mark?
Are we really?
Yeah.
How many letters are in the alphabet?
I don't know. Over about 26.
You don't know.
Well, you know how when we learnt the planets of the solar system.
So exasperated.
I don't know.
Why are you asking me?
Mercury isn't. No, Pluto isn't a planet anymore. So
you think that like Z has been demoted to a dwarf letter?
Yeah, that's a crazy theory, isn't it? I would have noticed by now if they hadn't been using some letters.
It is true though. I mean, because a lot of time these guides they bundle in XYZ.
Yeah, we won't be doing that.
We're not doing that. We're a week per letter guarantee. We believe in equal letters. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't want to group letters together. They're letters in their own right. Some letters, like S, have got like over 100 games to them.
And quality games too.
And some, I think, have got less than 5.
Yeah. So someone will be getting on the list twice.
But that's it's like a postcode lottery. Or zip code lottery, if that exists anywhere.
Did you think they knew back in the day that one day someone would make the best gaming podcast ever and they would therefore guarantee a spot in the top 5?
Yeah, I think someone was thinking of like a game like X-Ray Man, and their boss said, "Hey, let's call it Super X-Ray Man." And they thought, but then we won't stand a chance to win to get into the Hall of Game. We need to go in through the back door.
So many super games. Just ruined.
Yeah.
Super Castlevania.
Yeah.
Super Bomberman. I mean, these are great games. Are they gonna make the list now?
They might not. I mean, I am actually quite nervous about what we do when we get to R, S, and T.
Don't worry about it.
It's weeks away. At the moment, they're pretty much about the same.
Can't be feeling anxious about S already.
Can't worry about that. We're just gonna let it happen.
F. F is sort of like S with a speech impediment. So this is kind of like a trial for S.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really. Yeah. They're similar letters, and they look similar. Like if you had a calculator, it would be most of the same lines on a digital letter. Do you know what I mean? Like a calculator. If you were writing letters on a calculator type font, there would be quite similar spaces used on F as there is S.
Yeah, I suppose.
Do you want me to come up with any more boring thoughts?
Well, I think people have tuned out already, so we might as well go. Anyone who's still here will put up with listening to anything, so sure.
Well, I did actually. I think it's your tangent. I was saying, we're a quarter of the way through. I was going to go, how you found.
I was merely asking how many letters are in the alphabet, and you took such offence because I wanted to check whether you were accurate or not.
You were checking up on my work.
Yeah, you made a very bold claim.
Well, you could have worked out for yourself if you knew what letter we were on and knew how many letters in the alphabet we were on.
Makes for great podcasting when instead of talking, we each just go and make our calculations and come back.
Okay.
Hang on, guys. We're just carrying the one. What are we doing? A to Zelda is what we're doing.
A to Zelda.
In case anyone was wondering.
Every week we're playing all of the games from one particular letter on both Mega Drive and Master System. No, Mega Drive and Super Nintendo system games.
You always boff that one.
People want to hear what random console I'm going to pretend that
I
I'm
was
playing.
going to get it wrong this week.
But we're we're on F this week, which I thought was quite fitting because I was getting a bit of F fatigue because a lot of these games I thought, are they just similar? Is F particularly counterfeit compared to other letters, or is it just we're on week F?
You were saying F a lot, like another platformer. Oh, for F, this
Yeah, exactly. You should have heard me effing and jeffing.
Effing and Jeffing.
Effing and jeffing.
Is Jeff a letter?
J, yeah, or
J.
G. You can spell Jeff with a G. That'll be next week. We'll be jeffing next week.
Lots of jeffing.
So what have you been? What have you been on this week? What console were you working through?
I can't remember.
A quick test for you.
The old Super Mega Drive. The Mega Drive, yeah.
The Mega Drive. Excellent.
Which means that you need to go first because you are the Sega Nintendo. So, why don't we play A to Zelda?
A to Zelda.
Let's play A to Zelda.
Just said that.
That's like hyping up into the.
Okay, you're backing me up.
I've been your what do they call it? Hype man. I was being a hype man.
It wasn't very hypey. You're like, yeah, let's do it.
No,
Put your hands in the air, and guys, like you don't care, like I don't, about my job as hype man.
Yeah, but it's a podcast, so you've got to like talk it. Like, let's. I was just giving you a little bit of support. I won't do it.
Thanks, I appreciate it. We are much more mild.
I don't
this
think
is more mild than radio, isn't it?
I don't think you do appreciate it.
I do. You're calling me a liar.
Well, see, again, that sounds like you're not appreciating things. You're just slinging out.
I made a very confirming statement, and you said that no, you don't believe me.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
You folded very quickly there. I've broken you already.
I've learned.
We're only a quarter of the way through the season.
It's one of my best life skills, folding. At the earliest opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Should do yoga.
Yoga.
Right. SNES it up.
SNES it up. Right. So I am on SNES.
Oh yeah, new and improved this week. We've been having so many people telling us how wonderful it is that we take so long on an episode that we've decided to make them a bit shorter.
Well, that's not actually what we've done. What we've done is we thought we would not set the games in the dump to 5, but by doing that, it usually means that rather than I was anticipating we would be bringing 4 games sometimes when there wasn't a 5th, but it seems to have gone the other way.
Yeah.
We're like games hoarders.
Yeah.
Oh, don't throw that one out. That's a good rubbish one.
I enjoyed playing that for 5 minutes.
The dum.
Every week we're going to describe the show as new and improved, but today's is new and improved. It's new and improved A to Zelda. Go, SNES.
Okay, SNES. So I'm on SNES this week. My first selection is F-Zero. Yeah, I know. The launch title, very early SNES game. So I think a lot of people had it. We certainly had it. And it is a futuristic racing game set in the year 2560.
Wow.
And it's a pretty fun game.
So that's still in the future now.
It's miles in the future. They really kicked it ahead so that really no one who played it back then is going to go, oh, what, 2560 is nothing like the street racing scenes of F-Zero.
Exactly. It's very clever. No one's gonna be around to hear any of those complaints. Whereas, all those other 2001: A Space Odyssey, and you're like,
someone will still complain, won't they? Someone in 2560, they'll go, oh, this is nothing, but it might be quite similar, mightn't it?
Exactly.
And then what?
Exactly.
So this game is set above the rooftops of cities, It's like a Formula One, but instead of racing cars, you're in slightly different versions of what I would say would be Thunderbird 2. You know, the green Thunderbird? So they're quite heavy looking spaceship race cars.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit like, what's that? Wipeout.
Yeah.
The idea of Wipeout, but mixed with sort of Mario Kart style graphics. But it's very fast. You go over 450 kilometers an hour in this game, and it feels.
What's that for our American cousins who have no idea?
In 2560, they will be on the metric system for sure.
So they'll know.
So they'll know by then.
So we don't even need to explain.
No.
Okay.
Don't worry about that. The soundtrack is awesome on this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And what I like especially, not only is it just quite nice, but most racing games are like really really intense, whereas all of the sound effects and menu music is all like quite mellow and futuristic. It's quite, it's really nice. You could sort of, I was in a frantic 450 kilometer race, but I was totally chilled. And even when I blew up, because I'd been driving against the sort of weird magnetic boundary for too long, I didn't mind.
It was a pleasant. Like, I deserved that, and
because I would have been really annoyed, I think, in that, because it just says you lose straight away. It doesn't say, "Oh, you came in 7th out of 8. Would you like to try again?" It's like, you lose.
Weird that you can be traveling at that speed and be less road rage than when you're on the road at like 40 miles an hour and everyone's like effing and jeffing at you.
Ugh, tell me about it.
Like, just chill, put on some F-Zero music and relax.
You know, I would listen to the soundtrack, you know, independently
in a car.
Pretty cool. In the car? No, not in the car. Oh yeah, in the car.
Make you go too fast?
I'm a very slow driver, so maybe it's what I need.
You could use the menu music while you're driving.
In fact, I need no distractions when I'm driving. I need to like concentrate 100% all the time.
Yep.
Do you know what the F in F-Zero stands for?
Fast?
No.
Future?
No.
Fantastic?
No. Apparently, it stands for Formula.
Oh, of course.
So instead of Formula 1, it's Formula 0.
Yeah.
So it should be an older game, shouldn't it?
No, it means faster.
Oh, does it?
Because like Formula 3 is like not as fast.
Ah, that's very clever. I thought it was a bit stupid, but it turns out that I'm stupid.
Yeah, it does.
7 courses, 4 vehicles. Looks and feels great. Still plays really nicely and bright and attractive. So that is, I've whizzed through F-Zero at 450 kilometers per hour. My next game that I recommend, that I'm putting forward, is a game called Fatal Fury 2, which is a fight game available on SNES and Mega Drive, an SNK sort of style fight game, which is like Neo Geo. It's a Neo Geo arcade port.
Yeah, SNK. Of course, you might remember they were the team that poached a couple of Street Fighter developers to make Art of Fighting.
Yeah. And if you missed that episode, it should be available if you click for A. 1991.
Which is the first letter of the alphabet.
That's a good place to start. And then you'll get all these jokes as we go through. We'll constantly be harking back to Art of Fighting every episode, pretty much.
Yeah, true. Classic. Yes, carry on with your Fatal Fury 2.
Fatal Fury 2. Fatal Fury 2 is... I think the opening blurb of Fatal Fury 1 was basically... the gist was use violence to solve the world's problems.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a bit lacking. It had... you only had 3 characters. Anyway, fast forward to Fatal Fury 2, 1992. It's faster, so it's a bit like Street Fighter Turbo. It's a bit slicker. The characters are pretty cool. There's 8 playable characters. They have got variety of moves and styles. They've got like Big Bear, who's a trucker, so his scene is a trucker scene. There's a moving train for like the American guy with a baseball cap. I think the unique thing here on this fight game was they call it the two-plane or two-lane system. So it's almost 3D, except Street Fighter, you're like on the same plane as each other, whereas you can go slightly into the background and you can jump across. It looks a little bit 3D, but I thought it was pretty cool, actually. It added a bit of dimension to flying kicks and stuff if you're going from front to back. And apparently I never managed to get it done, but there was hazards in the background, like electrified wires that you could hurt yourself on.
Awesome.
Yeah. You have brothers again, so all the classic beat 'em up things. Like you have Terry Bogard, who's your American guy. You have cutscenes at the end where they say you're a wimp and things like that.
Yeah.
But what I quite liked about the American guy is he had a baseball cap, and if you beat him up and you knocked him out, his cap comes off.
Yeah.
But if you are him and you win, you like strike a pose, like a George Michael Faith style pose, and you fling your hat in the air. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That felt good when you did that. So, Fatal Fury 2. Did you ever go on
Excellent.
that? What did you think?
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah, I did. That was.
I thought the Mega Drive, I had a little go because I wondered if it would play any different. I thought the game pretty similar, but I thought it was like packaged, like when you turned it on. The actual, how would you suggest that? It's like the opening sequences and stuff were just a bit cooler.
Yeah.
Had some good music in it too, so that's definitely one to check out. It's probably it's probably one of those fight games that you should try. Speaking of fight games you should try, but I'm not really recommending, apart from if you're like a collector like me of sort of rip-off Street Fighter games, just because they're in a nice style. Check out Fighter's History. It just seems to mimic all the right areas if you like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's quite playable. I think, so just check it out, Fighter's History. It's just got the nice sort of art and backgrounds, but not quite as good actually a game as Fatal Fury 2. So just a mention. So it's just a
honourable mention.
An honourable mention, yeah. My next selection is a game called Final Fight 3. And it's a 1995 SNES only. Sort of Nintendo's answer to Streets of Rage beat 'em up.
Yeah. So that was the first game also called Final Fight.
Final Fight, yeah. And then,
but it wasn't.
No, then they had Final Fight 2. And funny enough, actually, I copied and pasted the plot because I thought, well, yeah, Final Fight, surely it's done, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then, so I thought, surely, why are we even here? And they said, following the annihilation of the Mad Gear Gang, a new criminal group named the Skull Cross Gang emerges as the new dominant criminal organisation in Metro City.
Yeah.
So when your main character returns to Metro City, blah blah blah, they all get back together and go, basically that's what they do. They go, what? But that's just crime, you know. Crime evolves. You don't just. They're entrepreneurs too. What I liked about this game, again, is I think it's Capcom. So you have strong sort of Street Fighter-esque styling.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice. I mean, if you like those, if you're really into those Streets of Rage kind of games, then you'll probably like it. But the third one is where they got the elements sort of right, because I think in the first one you can only play one player.
Mm-hmm.
But this one's nicely sharp, like all those like sort of 1995 releases. What's fun is that you can play as Guy, aka Ryu, Dean, who looks like Guile, or Hagar, who's basically Zangief, and also a character called Lucia, who's pretty much Cammy.
It's weird that there's so similar characters in all these games. I mean, even the Street Fighter games themselves, like after once they made Super Street Fighter, some of the characters there, you're like, are you really that low on ideas? That because they were really bland, weren't they? The new ones.
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be more than
But then
the
what they've
American
done.
GI,
Yeah.
the Japanese martial artist.
They probably thought they were being original because they're probably like, what about Street Fighter, but in a Streets of Rage kind of setup? And for anyone that's criticising me, thinking that Guy isn't Ryu, he does a spinning kick move, and he also does a Hadouken, where I think he even says Hadouken.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird that they came up with those characters and even themselves were unable to sort of move past that and come up with anything compelling.
yeah.
It's very weird.
It's
You know, like on Mortal Kombat, how all the characters, about half of them were that same guy, just with a different colour.
Yeah, different coloured sort of
Still
trim.
throwing out the spear and go, get over here.
And there's a green character who you either have to do a ridiculous cheat or activate it on a particular scene, and it's like, oh my goodness, now we get to fight the secret green character, but he's just green.
Guy. Just green.
So that was, of course, Final Fight 3. Oh, what's the best thing about Final Fight 3, and the reason it's in my selection here, is that if you're like me and you don't have any friends, you can have a computer friend play with you. So you normally go around in twos, so I could be Ryu, and I could normally, if you were around, Martin, you'd be the Guile character.
Yeah.
Well, in this, you can have a computer controlled friend to help in your, so you don't have to play just on your own. So I thought that was really neat, yeah. And that makes it a top game. It's
All right.
worth that for that alone. Okay, my next game is.
What do you got for us?
This is a little bit of a stinker because, well, I won't slag it off too much before I describe it, but it's an interesting, and I like that they tried. I like that they went there. It's called Fire Striker. Again, it's a SNES only game, and if you were to imagine an RPG meets alleyway sort of breakout pinball, then it's hard to imagine, but someone somewhere imagined it and made it into a game. So you basically quest through various alleyway sort of pinball puzzles, but using the cast of an RPG. So there's a fireball that sort of blips around, and you are, instead of being like a flat paddle at the bottom, you're a guy that you can control with a sword, and you can whack it. And you've either got to whack it at bricks or whack it at bad guys. And you also have you use the shoulder buttons to control like a goalkeeper to make sure the ball doesn't drop through the bottom. And as you whack through the bricks at the top, you then progress through the top where there's another scenario like puzzly thing for you to do. And there's a big elaborate story as to why you're bothering doing it, which I thought was nicely over the top. It was a bit tedious to control the fire thing. But it's different. I like to reward these where they go and they try something different. It was sort of a little bit close to being good. It nearly cracked it. But I thought the longer I played it, the more frustrated I got. But you've just got to see it to believe it, and that's why it's there. Fire Striker.
Pinball RPG. I'm glad you picked an RPG. We got a complaint letter from Martin in Whom Martin. He has said, if you guys hate RPGs so much, why is your show called A to Zelda? Well, Martin, I'm glad you asked. In fact, we can go further than that because the name doesn't even make sense, does it? Because Zelda is actually called Legend of Zelda, so it doesn't even begin with Z. So there we go. But also, we've picked plenty of RPGs.
Loads, almost too many.
Probably slightly more critical of them, but I'd say most weeks we're sticking one in there.
Yeah.
I think it's just They do take a long time, don't they?
They do, and yeah. I think it's the time thing. Imagine if they had RPGs in the arcade, and you put 10p in, and then you would just play for days.
So maybe the slight harshness is fine, because it's kind of, it is more of an investment of time. So it'd be the same as, like, you know, who you might kiss someone. You might want to kiss someone, Martin, but that's like a platformer.
Yeah.
Just fire it up and go.
Yeah.
You're not just going to marry anyone, are you?
That's a good point.
You're probably only going to get married like 4 or 5 times in your life.
Per week.
So RPG is more like that. It's more like, okay, I don't want to get into this. It's not quite good enough. So there is probably a slightly higher bar set for them. But if it's good, we'll pick it for sure.
Yeah. Hey, and also, if we were to call our show this particular show, we're just trying to do it for the people out there, because they know what we mean by Zelda. And also, I think if we were to go proper A to Z, we'd be going A to Zoop, I think we'd be called. And no one would know what that meant.
Yeah.
Just trying to help people out.
Trying to help you, Martin. Would you have even heard of this show if it wasn't called A to Zelda, Martin?
He needs to help himself somewhat first, I think.
Right.
Anyway,
back
my last game.
Oh yeah.
Before I was rudely interrupted by Martin. Not you, sorry, Martin.
Yeah, that's right. I get it. Cool, Martin.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 3.
Ha! In your face, Martin. Every week. Final Fantasy 3.
Also known as Final Fantasy 6.
Okay. Explain.
I think it's in America. It's the third one that was released.
Yeah.
But the one that follows is Final Fantasy 7 for everyone.
Okay.
So the confusion stops here. It's worth pointing out, if people are turning off because I haven't played Final Fantasy 1 or 2, you can just jump straight in on this one.
Yeah.
You don't have to have played anything else. It eases you in nicely. So it is an epic.
Now you mention it, that is the cool thing with games in general, with sequels. Like with a film sequel, it's a bit silly to watch the second or third without watching the first.
Absolutely.
But with a game, you can actually, they are generally pretty self-contained, yeah.
Oh, that's a good observation. Point. Yeah. Well, yeah, you pat yourself on the back. Good point.
Is it the last Final Fantasy on the SNES? Is it the most sort of recent one before the next console, or tell us a bit more?
Well, I assume it is. Obviously, it's certainly the last one that I played. It's 1994, so someone will say that there's a spin-off that came out afterwards, but I think it's the main. Final Fantasy 7's on the PlayStation, the PS1. Unless unless there's but I'm pretty sure it's the last epic RPG of the series. It's impressive. It's got nice looking cutscenes with sort of snowflakes in the introduction. It builds the story up, so you sort of can't help get into it. It's 36 hours to complete, and that's if you're like a gamer, not just someone like me who's rubbish. 14 playable characters, no main character. So you're constantly helping different people on various quests and things. And I think it actually, that's why it's so popular, because it's just a huge story. It's an experience, XP points and battle modes and things like that. But it does ease you in, because I'm always never really know what I'm doing. But it eases you into the format. It gives you some nice easy battles, and then you get a feel for the characters and the moves and the magic. So and then you start feeling good after you win, and then you sort of feel a bit more like you like your characters, and you can also rename them as well. Yeah, so that's always quite fun for me. You can name them as your friends or rude words.
Great.
So if you like, this is your classic sort of RPG, rather than I think we've mentioned Chrono Trigger and
Yeah.
Earthbound, haven't
And
we?
Earthbound. Yeah.
So they're all great ones, but this is if you feel like you want that classic RPG experience.
This is the classic
Yeah.
series, really.
Hey, guess what? RPGs have obviously been on my mind this week because someone was talking to me about fuel economy, and
Yeah.
I referred to MPG, miles per gallon, as RPG. So that was pretty cool.
There you go. We are pretty good at picking the RPGs. I think
Yeah.
we are doing a great service to the land of RPGs because anything that we pick will represent that genre pretty nicely, actually. Because you could play on any of the ones that we've actually ended up top fiving, and you'd be like, "This is great."
Yeah.
Because
I
there's a
think,
lot of old tat, really.
There's a lot of guff out there.
So similar with the the usual stuff. Anyway, are you done, Martin?
Well, I've finished my dump. I would give it a couple of minutes, and then
Okay.
because that was quite epic, actually.
Yeah, I think you might have finished that one in under half an hour for once. That's like impressive. Impressive
That's good for me.
dumpingness.
Right, so it's time for the Mega Drive dump.
I did hear something the other day that was quite funny about how, like, one of the differences between men and women, or husbands and wives even, is that like there's the common joke that the woman takes ages to get ready,
Oh yeah.
and like the guy's like, "Oh, come on." But if you're going to be fair, it's usually the guy that takes ages during the dump.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it's like sits down, gets the phone out. I haven't.
It's like a ritual, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
When in my younger years, I was very economical, and I would literally leave it to the last minute, time it most of the time, time it just right so that it all just happens, and then a quick tidy up, and then you're out, and it's like a minute. And I always wondered then, why do people spend so long on the toilet?
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Yeah.
It's relaxing.
Especially for you. Surely now you've got 4 kids, right? That would be like, that's your quiet time, right? That's
No, because they know. They know. They're just
banging on the
in.
door.
Yeah. Our door's just got one of those. It shouldn't really even be called a lock. You just sort of try and open the door about 3 times, and it jiggles open. So
At least you get a warning.
I don't even bother shutting the door anymore.
Okay. Well, I reckon that's probably been long enough. I'll light a match maybe, but I can probably go in there,
That's fine.
unload my dump.
Fantastic.
Here we go. Well,
Can't wait.
funny you should say fantastic, because my first choice is a game called Fantastic Dizzy.
This show is so well scripted.
It is. We write every word of it. All the ums and ahs.
Yeah.
Fantastic Dizzy. It's I would call it an egg-based platformer.
That's exactly what it is. And
really
nothing
is.
nothing more.
Nothing more. It's a very cool game. Probably the biggest criticism is it's a bit difficult. Maybe it's because I'm out of the habit of playing those sort of 90s platformers.
Yeah. It's a bit puzzly, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a little bit puzzly. I remember it reminded me of like Krusty's Funhouse.
Yeah.
Going around like looking for stuff
Oh, yeah.
rather than just jumping on people. But yeah.
I was also getting Cool Spot vibes, just probably because of the look and maybe the soundtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
But not as cool as Cool
No.
Spot, which was a barnstormer. I think did
Yeah.
it win that week?
Yes, it did, yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't say it was fantastic Dizzy. I'd say it was quite good Dizzy.
So you're managing people's expectations there.
Oh, dear me.
Cut that.
No, not even going to go there. We could be doing egg-based puns all day.
Yeah. There's probably a podcast for that alone, isn't
Probably.
there? So let's
It would be called, what would that podcast be called?
see why? Don't say that we're not going to go into doing egg-based puns and then go, so let's think of like a... What would it be called?
We'll leave for 5 minutes. Come back with your best.
We'll insert
In fact,
it. There, can't we?
write in with your. If you were going to name an egg pun-based podcast, not even talking about eggs, but just what would you call it? Best answer wins.
An egg.
You get access to our podcasts.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Oh, the phones are red hot.
they are. But let's move on.
Let's
we'll
move
answer
on.
them later. Fatal Fury 2.
Oh yeah. Sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
So move on because we've done that. But excellent game. Oh, was it excellent?
Yeah, it was good.
Excellent.
It was good.
It was, yeah. FIFA.
Ooh, where do you start?
Well, I was interested in this because from memory I thought that I probably played a lot with the first one, just called
Yeah.
FIFA International, and I thought maybe that's holding up pretty well. Also, maybe a little bit of an apology to, what we call Striker. We talked about last week. What was it called? Epic Soccer or something? Elite Soccer.
Yeah.
I kind of slagged it off because it wasn't as good as I remember. But, well, yeah, don't need to apologise because it wasn't. But the same is true for the FIFA games. It's quite disappointing. I feel like some games have evolved too far in that they can kind of lose, or at least, some platformers during the 90s were that good that they still hold up really well now.
Yeah. But then that's
I'm
a
not
2D
sure.
thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a 2D,
Not sure
3D
about the
thing.
FIFA games. And, yeah.
I mean, I was just saying back to F-Zero.
Yeah.
I mean, I had lists of Formula One, and we've had racing games, but racing games don't really hold up either.
No.
Only Chase HQ 2 have we selected so far, and that's
Wow.
it for racing games. So F-Zero was holding
It's
up,
really
but
punching
yeah.
well.
But I think that's the same for some of the sports games, or the more 3D, where every year you're expecting advancements. Yeah.
So I thought unquestionably the FIFA games were the best football games on those consoles, but I'm not sure now. I'm looking forward to playing Sensible Soccer, for example, because I feel like maybe that will have held up. Even at the time, you thought, oh, this isn't as realistic as FIFA or Striker or whatever, but
Yeah.
I got a feeling like maybe for pure gameplay that might be. But anyway, that's another week.
We'll
We're on
have to
F.
do like a football games podcast, won't we? Top 10 football games.
Top 10. Oof.
Just count them down or something.
Yeah.
Top 1. Find a good one.
I was surprised. Probably the biggest jump was from FIFA International to FIFA 95. There was a lot of like glitchiness and like awkward. When the player seems to be almost like running around in a circle or something.
Yeah.
With the first one, FIFA 95 ironed a lot of that out. And there's
Do you
more
remember
there's cheats?
in FIFA International where you would get a red card, wouldn't you? You'd do a hack. You'd hack someone out. And as long as you ran away from the ref, they would keep chasing you. And until you stopped, they wouldn't give you a red card. So you could run around the pitch for a whole. I don't think the clock counted, but it was fun.
It just
That was a
doing it
glitch.
doing it for the crowd. They're having a great time. Yeah. So I also want to give FIFA. I want them to drop a few marks for the laziness in releasing a new game every year with such little improvement. Probably the biggest jump was from the first to the second, which is understandable.
Yeah.
You've sort of proved the concept, but there's obviously a few things that you can iron out.
Yeah.
Really, year by year, just not worth the price of admission, really. If you had FIFA 95, there would have been virtually no point in upgrading to any of the other games, I don't think. Maybe by the time it's to 98, it's sort of like a jump up, but that's only because you've had 3 game cycles.
I think FIFA 97 had like an indoor mode.
Yeah.
That was like a extra little thing. But
That was there's my second mention, actually, 97.
But yeah, I know what you mean. It's really annoying about the football game every year thing. People love it, but yeah, it's been happening since then. It's been happening since '95.
They probably started it.
They did.
Those
I think
guys.
they did. Very guilty.
Um,
Sepp Blatter written all over that one.
So I'm mentioning it because it is still fun, and actually the 2-player mode would still be quite. But I don't know. I think we've been too spoiled by the advances in the game tech now. Once you've got like a.
We played FIFA 95 a lot there, didn't we? I think we played. We might have worn that cartridge out.
The cheats are really fun. On
it's worth
FIFA
it.
95.
It's worth it just to play the cheats.
Yeah,
it opens
like
it
the
up.
curve. You can hack people. You can curve the ball to insane, like 90-degree angles and beat the goalie. It becomes like a new skill in itself. I'm going with FIFA 95. FIFA 97 is probably, would be a better game, I guess, in a way, head to head. But
I think the cheat swings it for 95.
Yeah.
So if you're going to play a football game, Google like the cheats for 95, and there's a few different ones, but they're insane. It's pretty fun.
This is probably my honourable mention. There's a game called Fire Shark, which I've just described as space invaders on a biplane, a heavily armed biplane. So I just wanted to mention it because you've got this like 1920s aircraft made of like balsa wood. And you've got these missiles and anti-tank guns and things. I'm like, I'm not sure that the physics of this game are accurate. So I mentioned it just because it was kind of fun, but it's typical. Is that typical sort of Space Invaders kind of gameplay where you're just shooting stuff and yeah. Okay, Flashback, Quest for Identity.
Ugh.
And I described this.
I felt like I lost my identity when I played this one. Sorry. Go on.
Did you enjoy it?
I think I wasn't. I was expecting it. I don't know why. I think because I'd seen it a lot, like the box. Maybe it was always at car boot sales.
Really?
I'd seen the box at a lot
of
of places, and I was expecting it Flashback to be like a really intense platformer game, and that meant that I struggled with the pace. Whereas actually, it was probably fine.
Yeah, you've got to be prepared for the pace. I've described it as Tintin meets Prince of Persia. So I think they were probably more trying to go for Indiana Jones, but Tintin is a more accurate comparison. And I've
is he ginger?
Described. I can't remember actually. Is he wearing a hat? Not sure.
Okay, sorry.
It's sort of very mild-mannered fighting. So it's that sort of thing. If you've played Prince of Persia, it's very similar, although apparently it was created independently with a different method of rotoscoping, but that's that thing of very mildly just tiptoeing towards the edge and then climbing down and stepping over things. And it's all very, just a little bit further, just line up and I'm going to jump up onto this ledge.
Perfect posture though, doesn't he?
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely. Probably a good posture game to go with our, what was our game last week? The looting. How to play the loot.
It probably is the best posture game, actually, that we've had so far.
You do need good posture to play the loot. So we'll bring out a series of games. Posture, perfect posture, and how to looting.
And
game.
Desert Strike.
Desert Strike, yeah.
That was one, wasn't it?
Is that a recipe game or
our food fight game? I think we. We worked out. That's a bit too high energy, though.
You could have recipes as well, like in between. Like instead of "you must defeat my dragon punch," it would be like, try using stevia instead of sugar.
Soak your raisins overnight, and they'll be extra juicy.
Yeah. Do you know the difference between a raisin and sultana?
I think I did Google it. Is it like red grape, green grape?
Well, I wasn't actually going to go into it, but since you asked, I think there is a slightly different grape, but it's also the drying process. The sultana has got like an artificially sped up drying, which is why
Salted.
you don't see as much raisins as you used to,
I see.
because it takes longer to make them.
I do love a raisin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Too much. You know, when they put them in those little boxes for kids. It's not that they're for kids. It's that as soon as you go beyond the first box,
Yeah.
it all becomes
get a
like
sort of
drinking
like
prune juice.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
just remember the sort of biscuit of raisin that you would get. Like a kind of
Oh yeah.
wouldn't come out as little raisins anymore. It was just one congealed.
Yeah. It does feel great though to just neck a box, just slam it back, and
Yeah.
I ate all those raisins in one go.
Yeah, we don't waste it all. This is for our dessert strike podcast.
Oh yeah.
Coming soon.
So Fire Shark.
Okay.
I probably will play that actually. That sounds right up my street.
Which one? Dessert strike?
Fire Shark.
Oh, Fire Shark. Yeah. Yeah. It's fun.
Mhm.
Okay, Stinky Dump time.
Okay.
Frogger. Because
Frogger.
yeah. Exactly. It's I did play it and I was enjoying it. And I thought this is Stinky Dump though, because this is an unnecessary use of an entire cartridge. I'd feel a bit ripped off if I bought this. This could be on a compendium
Yeah.
of like lots of games, but like as a one game, ridiculous. And I realize it's in a category with like Minesweeper or Solitaire or Snake, in that
Yeah.
it is actually pretty rubbish. But when you've got nothing better to do, like you're waiting at a bus stop and you've got an old Nokia phone,
Yeah.
well, you play Snake. Or
Yeah,
you're-
but
you're
I would probably play Frogger.
yeah, exactly.
was on-
But of course, that's
That's what you're saying.
you would.
Yeah, if I had that
exactly what I'm saying.
choice. What
You
was
wouldn't
the
choose
third
to
one?
play it.
Minesweeper.
Solitaire when you're pretending to work.
Oh yeah.
Do people still play Solitaire even though they're like working from home now?
I especially more than ever. I'd have thought. Although
'Cause
there's
you can-
internet
on the
now.
Zoom, as long as you look like you're concentrating, some advice: if you are playing Solitaire whilst in a business Zoom meeting, I'd probably recommend taking off your glasses, because they might go. I can see the reflection in your glasses.
It would only really happen when when you win and all the cards fly everywhere. And you'd be smiling.
Yeah. So actually, maybe that would be good to play Frogger, because not enough people would be able to recognize it. They'd be like, "Are you gaming, Martin?" You'd be like, "No." You'd be able to tell because the cards would be going everywhere.
Yeah.
It looked a bit like a game. Yeah. What game? Boss.
So
And they wouldn't be
Frogger.
able to remember.
So Frogger, have they changed it up much to bring it to the modern day? Because it's been around for a while, even before this. Have they
Well,
done much rejuvenation?
You mean the modern day, meaning the 90s when the Mega Drive game was
Yes.
released? No, didn't look very special. It looked pretty rubbish. It could have run on the Spectrum, to be honest.
Or a calculator?
Yeah. Or a Nokia phone.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
if you need
Frogger.
something to play whilst
If you
pretending to
haven't
work,
ever played Frogger, it's quite a cool game
Yeah.
if you've never played it.
it's a great game. It's an honourable mention because of that. But it's
Okay.
a stinky dump for the shameless releasing of an old game.
You heard it here first. Martin shaming Frogger.
Yeah, just the Mega Drive port of Frogger, not the game itself, which is a classic.
Nicely done.
Okay, last one. I'm just going to set the scene. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Eyes
medieval
closed.
medieval times. You can
Oh,
hear some kind of a flute or a panpipey type thing. There are wizards, elves, maps. You're looking at maps. There's treasure chests. What kind of game am I playing,
Yeah,
Martin?
almost certainly playing a platform game.
Correct. I'm playing a platformer called Flink, which it's on merit. This is no stinky dump. Honorable mention. This is a cool game. The graphics are pretty sweet, and yeah, it's a RPG as platformer basically.
It's very tidy very tidy late game, isn't it? Where there's what's quite cool, a bit like in Sonic 3, where there's as you're moving through, there's things in the foreground and the background. It's not just a jazzy background. I thought it was
there's a lot
pretty
going
nice.
on. Yeah,
It's all the fun of an RPG, but none of the hassle.
none of the hassle. So that's a great one to just drop in, as you said, Martin. If you don't want to commit,
Yeah.
this one's not for marriage, but you want a bit of a flink. You want a bit of a flink.
Ah.
Go for it.
Oh, that's great. Are you done in there?
2 more minutes. Okay, so after all those dumps, we need the draft. This is kind of like the cut. It's the same thing. Ooh, the draft. We need a bit of a draft in there just to clear it out. We need to clear out some of those games and come up with a winner.
We need to shuffle some into a top table, don't we?
Yeah.
So pick. So whilst we're for the diehards out there, give all of these a try. But we're gonna try and get a list of 5 together.
Yes.
For essential playing.
Yeah. I'm cutting Frogger already.
Are you?
Yep.
Good.
And Fireshark. They're gone.
Ah, yeah. Well,
And Flashback, Quest for Identity.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was going to be, I get called a Sega fanboy sometimes by people when I'm out in the street.
Some
They just
nasty
go,
people.
I hate Sega fanboy.
What's wrong with the SNES, Martin?
But it's not entirely true. It's just, it's not true actually. I like both, and I both appreciate the qualities in both. Like, for example, the SNES music for RPGs and those sort of games that you're playing for quite a while is much better than having the sort of synthesizer blazing in making your eardrums bleed for like hours on end.
That's true.
On like arcadey style games, that's what you really need. It gets you
When you need
pumping.
Nothing cuts through quite like that FM synth.
Exactly.
Sega,
like that was the best thing about El Viento on E. Is this, and I don't know if you'd have got the same. And it's the same with the graphics. Sometimes you want pace, sometimes you want the colours.
Yeah.
But this week, I'm not sure about the majority of the F games, but I really liked. I thought there was some cream up the top in F-Zero, Fatal Fury 2, Final Fight 3, and Final Fantasy 3. And,
I think it's very honest of you, Martin. I would agree that I feel like the SNES kind of killed it this week, and Mega Drive a little bit on the ropes.
Yeah, they've. Some good pick up and plays in the day of where you can access things from on various consoles now. But if you'd have bought, you're thinking back in the day when you buy stuff as an investment to play it for months on end. But maybe some of those games come to life. But certainly, I'll scrap. Obviously, Fighter's History wasn't in there, and Fire Striker was really just a novelty. But I've got to put Fatal Fury is on both consoles, so that's a duplicate.
Chuck that in there.
But I'd like to put those 4 forward, and I don't think I've put 4 out of 5 forward before.
And conversely, there's games for the Mega Drive that I'll go, that can be in the top 5, but I also don't really feel like any particular game nailed it to the point that I would put it up for the winner. So what have you got? You've got F-Zero, Final Fantasy 3, Final Fight 3,
and Fatal Fury 2. So they're the 4.
I wouldn't cut any of those out. So that really means that I've just got to pick one out of Fantastic Dizzy, FIFA 95, and Flink. Ooh. I'm going to cut Fantastic Dizzy.
Yeah.
Just
scribble through that.
So really, it's now a debate between FIFA 95 and Flink.
Cool. Well,
I don't know. Do you have any? I think initially I was thinking FIFA 95 just because it's FIFA, but I think
it's a
that's my
juggernaut, though,
bias.
isn't it? It's a juggernaut of a.
Yeah.
Whilst they have, up until then, it was like a free market, wasn't it? Everyone was having a go at the football game. Maybe
Yeah.
because it's the endorsement, but at least they came in and they basically owned it, didn't they? And they pretty much do still. So
Are
that's
we
pretty
lacking
good.
any 2 players? No, we see F-Zero. F-Zero's got a split screen 2-player mode, right?
Yeah.
Fatal Fury, obviously 2-player.
Two games.
Final Fight, that's a 2-player. So we've actually. I was going to say if we were lacking 2 players, it might edge FIFA 95. Flink. It would be harsh to not give Flink a bit of a run because
Well, I mean, we're
Yeah.
not going to have many sports games, I don't think.
Nah.
We're gonna have,
All right.
it's difficult.
Let's chuck in FIFA 95.
It's in there. Okay, so that makes our top table
Yeah.
today. We've got FIFA 95, Final Fantasy 3, Final Fight 3, Fatal Fury 2, and F-Zero. Out of all of those, I would think that F-Zero, I think, is just a peg above. It's on, it's its own game, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of the best racing games. It's not copying anything, or it's not. Well, maybe it is, but nothing that I've seen. It's not. And I think it's still referred to in just the soundtrack alone. I think it just puts it up there.
agree.
So that's got to be our winner.
I reckon
F-Zero's gotta
F-Zero is
be-
definitely for me. That's a bit of a standout. As you said before, we haven't picked any racing games even in the top 5. Have we even had one top 5 game maybe?
No, I don't think so. I
no,
don't think Chase
so-
HQ2 made it.
The fact that it's that good that it's the winner, it's nice work. So then is that Final Fantasy 3 as the runner up then?
I think it's because of the time and effort gone into it. It's epic, and there's cutscenes. They moved to the cutscene, which is now a big thing in modern day gaming. I think it's good. I think it's the next best thing. So
All right.
F-Zero into the Hall of Game.
Hall of Game for F-Zero.
Oh, well done. And Final Fantasy 3 as runner up.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's a good
Okay.
top 5 though. That's a good top 5. So
It
try
is.
those. Try those games.
Try them out. And we better wrap things up here.
Yeah.
We shall see you will hear us next week
Next week.
for
Yes.
A to Zelda when we do Jeffin.
Jeffin. We're Jeffin next week.
We've done the Effin.
Until then, you've got 7 days to test out those 5 games. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
We'll see you for G. Jeffin with a G.
All right. Goodbye.
See you later.